Today we're going to talk about probability and Punnett squares, and this is going to be the first of two parts. The goal of this video is to explain how to use a Punnett square to predict the frequency of genotypes and phenotypes among offspring. So first, what is a Punnett square? A Punnett square is a chart that allows you to predict the likelihood of each possible genotype and phenotype in the offspring of any two parents. The alleles in the female parent's gametes are written at the top of the chart. So the female parent produces eggs, and inside those eggs are alleles. That's what are written at the top of this chart. The alleles in the male parent's gametes are written on the left side of the chart. So the male parent produces sperm. Inside those sperm are alleles, and that's what you see here on the left. Each box in the chart represents a possible combination of alleles in the zygote that is formed. So when this sperm fertilizes that egg, it produces a zygote, and inside the zygote are going to be the combination of alleles based on what allele was in the sperm and what allele was in the egg. So in this case, we have 4 possible combinations. The possible combination of alleles is called a genotype. So as I mentioned a moment ago, there are 4 boxes in this Punnett square. Because there are 4 possible combinations of alleles, there are 4 possible genotypes. This first combination would use the big H from the sperm and the little h from the egg. The next one, same thing, big H from the sperm, little h from the egg. Big H from the sperm, little h from the egg. Big H from the sperm, little h from the egg. Each one of these boxes represents 1 out of the 4 possibilities, and this is where you can determine the probability using the chart. So 1 out of 4 is a 25% chance of a zygote having this combination. So each box represents a 25% chance, or 1/4 chance of having that genotype. If multiple boxes have the same genotype, then you add the percentages together to determine the total probability of an offspring having that genotype. So in this example, all 4 of the boxes have the exact same genotype. They're all big H, little h. And that would mean, to figure out the total probability here, you would add up each one of them together. So 25% plus 25% plus 25% plus 25% equals 100%. What does that mean? That means there is a 100% chance that an offspring of this couple having a heterozygous genotype. Notice none of the boxes have the homozygous dominant genotype, which would be big H, big H. None of these boxes have a big H, big H. And none of these boxes have the homozygous recessive genotype, which would be little h, little h. None of them have that. That means there's a 0% chance of this couple having offspring that are homozygous dominant or homozygous recessive. So this is an example of how you would figure out the probability of a particular genotype. But you can also use a Punnett square to figure out the probability of a phenotype. So remember, a phenotype is a physical characteristic. It's not just the letters in our example so far. It's some type of physical characteristic. So I'm going to fill out the details of our example a little bit. Some cats have long hair. Some cats have short hair. Long hair in cats is dominant, and this is represented by a capital letter H. And short hair in cats is recessive, and this is represented by a lowercase letter h. So notice all 4 offspring in our Punnett square have a capital H, and because that capital H for long hair is dominant, anytime you see that capital H, you know that offspring will have long hair. So this offspring would have long hair, this one would have long hair, this one would have long hair, and this one would have long hair. So all of the offspring would have long hair. If you remember, each box represents 25%. So 25% plus 25% plus 25% plus 25%. All four of them were long. So that means there's a 100% chance that this couple will have offspring with long hair. Since there were no offspring that had little h's for short hair, then that means 0% of the offspring from this couple will have short hair. None of these boxes show an offspring with short hair. So there's a 0% chance that this couple will have an offspring with short hair. I want to finish up trying to tie everything together here with a practice problem. So in horses, the allele for straight hair is represented with a capital H. It's dominant. And the allele for curly hair, we represent that with a little h because it's recessive. Now, here's the problem. A horse breeder mates a homozygous dominant mother with a heterozygous male. And you need to be able to tell me the probability for two things. What's the chance that their offspring will be heterozygous? And what's the chance that their offspring will have straight hair? So first, when we're setting up our Punnett square, you need to write the alleles at the top and the sides. So the mother, we're going to write her alleles at the top. It says that the mother is homozygous dominant. So we would represent homozygous dominant with a big H, big H. And we would represent the male as heterozygous, so that would be a big H, little h. Now, when you fill in the Punnett square, the big H from this sperm and the big H from this are big H, big H. So this sperm, there's a big H, and this egg has a big H, so big H, big H combine here. Here, you have a little h from the sperm and a big H from the egg. They come together. Notice I'm writing the capital letter first. And then same thing here, big H from the egg, little h from the sperm, come together, big H, little h. So now looking at that, what is the chance the offspring will be heterozygous? Well, to be heterozygous, you have to have one big letter, one little letter. So one of the dominant alleles, one of the recessive alleles. Two of these boxes have a heterozygous genotype. So 2 out of the 4 would be equal to 50%. Remember, each box is worth 25%, so 25% plus 25% makes 50%. Okay, now let's look at this part B. What is the chance the offspring will have straight hair? Well, as long as they have a big H, they will have straight hair. So this offspring would have straight hair, this one would have straight hair, this one would have straight hair, and this one would have straight hair. All of the possible offspring have straight hair. So 4 out of 4 is equal to 100%. You could add those up again. 25 plus 25 plus 25 plus 25 equals 100%. All right, so that is an example of how to use Punnett squares to predict the probability of a genotype and phenotype in offspring of a particular couple.